What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. I'm on a laptop day. I've been goofing about in CAD and I think I'm basically there. This is what I want to be making for ASBO for the top yokes and the speedo. I've had been, guesstimators and various other bits and pieces, and this is what I've come up with. And I think it looks all right actually. I think it's going to do the do. There's a couple of little bits which I ain't quite figured out yet, because I need to set a plane on an angle and all sorts of other stuff. But I'm basically there, I think. So I wanted to share it with you. So I suppose first things first, let's have a look at the bike and then we can have a look at the stuff I've got to do it with, and then I can show you what I'm going to be doing. Right, you're all handheld and wobbly at the minute, so I do apologise for that. But anyway, top yokes, that's what we're replacing. And I also need to get a speedo on there as well. Now on Jixit, which is still sitting over there, look. Steve-O wants to sink a tube into the back of their headlamp bowl and inset the speedo in there. I haven't even seen the speedo yet. That's another bit that's gone south with the oil cooler. But because he's doing that, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. The yokes, there is some things that has to remain as they are. So obviously, the size of these holes and the distance between them and the forks and angles and all that sort of stuff. However, you can see we've got this big old gap here. There's a black line there as well. So what needs to happen is the yokes is going to drop down to this level. So they are going to be a bit different. These are only there as a placeholder at the minute and to have something to measure. But that's kind of like our start off for 10 basically. And then pretty much from there I can do what I want. There are a few bits and pieces that's going to be different. We ain't going to have the ignition key up here. Oh bugger, that's something else I need to figure out where I'm going to stick that. And I don't like the fact that the clamps is on the front and on show and blah de blah de blah. I don't like these big sticky out bits down here where obviously the ignition key was fitted, and there's a lot of things I don't like about it. I do quite like that little humpy shape in it though, so we're going to keep that. And basically I've just come up with this design. So what have I actually got to make it? Right, so that's the that's the speedo that I'm going to be using. It's a GPS speedo. So you get this little receiver jobby. The cable on that's massive, so I can stick that pretty much wherever I want. It is just a basic one. The odometer at the bottom, it's got left and right turn signals and a main beam, and just speed up to 120 miles an hour, which we'll be testing that. I've also got this to make the housing for that as well. So it's basically a hollow steel ball, mild steel, and a bit of steel tubing. He's going to go in there, we'll cut him off at the right length, do some funky business, and then that is going to go in and mount it. So it's not actually going to be a great deal deeper than the speedo itself. I want to try and keep things as short as I can do. Because it's only got left and right turn signals and main beam, I've also got these little bullet lights. It's like an LED jobby. They're all waterproof, meant for use on bikes and boats. So I'll be able to have an additional oil warning light and a neutral light and stuff like that. I think I'm probably just going to go with those two extras because I don't really need anything else. But these are basically the bits and pieces that I'm going to use to make it all. So obviously set of vernier. I've got a big old block of alley here as well. You've seen that before. That's 280 by 100 by 70 mil, 6082 I want to say. Basically it's one of the tougher grades of alley that you can get. And it's meant for general structure, not just cosmetic stuff. It machines really nicely apparently. So that's basically what we got to play with. So if I grab the laptop and I will show you what I'm thinking. Right, there has been a ton of work going into this. I'm using Fusion 360. I've had to learn it as I've gone. I'm not very quick at it. I'm probably not that good at it. But you can get all sorts of stuff happening in this really, really quickly. The hard bit is stuff like getting offset planes at certain angles and, you know, putting stuff in certain... It's just... It took me a little bit of figuring out and everything else. But... And I still haven't put some holes in this, which I still need to do. But I'll show you that in a minute. But it's basically there, I think. There are some good bits to this as well, but we'll get into that in a sec. So, what have I been doing? Right, so this is the design. It is a little bit different to the other one. Well, this main bit in, this extra bit on the top definitely is. So, if we have a little squint about and look around and stuff, essentially that's a housing that I'm going to make for the GPS speedo to sit into. So that steel ball is going to get chopped into, shoved in the end of a tube, and then, oh actually hang on, how do I zoom in? Other way, right, there we go. So it does come with a plate and everything else, so you can see the speedo in here. That's the base of it. I'm not very good at this, am I? And then you can see we've got the spacers and the screws that sticks out the bottom of the speedo. This little plate with a couple of holes in it for the screws to go into gets welded into that main body. So the whole thing will, you know, just sit straight in. I'll probably O-ring the top of it. This slot here is just so I can, you know, get a spanner in there to actually do stuff up, and it also gives me somewhere that I can route the cables out of once it's all together and sorted, sort of thing. So underneath here there is going to be another plate that comes out, and that will bolt into the underside of the yokes, so the speedo housing itself can be taken off the yokes. The reason why I'm getting that tilting table is so I can tilt the whole yoke up at an angle, so obviously I can bore this sort of curve into it such that the speedo sits into it really nice and snugly, and it all just looks like one piece. So that's that. The speedo, like I said, it's got the odometer bit across the bottom here, and then it's got left turn signal, high beam, right turn signal. But it doesn't have an oil warning light or a neutral light. So probably here and here on this top bit of the yoke, at the same angle, I'll be milling into it and then drilling a hole through so I can shove those little, you know, two of those little lights in the top of the yoke as well. All the cabling will come out together, and then it will squirrel up out here, sort of thing, and straight into the, you know, straight into the front of the bike. So you ain't gonna see anything. There is probably going to be a change to this, in that I want to change the nut basically, but I'm limited on options, so I may even make my own one. But essentially it'll just be a domed hex head or something similar. The Daytona one is basically flat, and it's got a series of 6 holes in the top of it, so you need something like an angle grinder wrench, for example, to do it up. Don't really like the idea of that, because you are just going to mar the holes up, and if it ends up being anodized or anything else, it's just going to have all that off. It's going to look rubbish. So I'm still thinking about this one, but I can do that whenever. The only other bit that's missing is down here. Obviously there's got to be a hole through this bit, and then the body of it here is going to be threaded, because that's obviously going to clamp it onto the fork legs. And on the underside, if I can flip it over, down here I want to hollow a lot of this out and try and get a bit of weight saving going on. I'm going to need sort of somewhere to route the cabling and all this sort of stuff, so logically that would be a good thing to do. So, you know, we can come out of this slot and, I don't know, along the back here somehow I don't know, but I want to try and hollow some of this out and make it a little bit lighter, because I've got a feeling that this could be quite a bit of a chunky thing. Most yokes is, you know, hollowed out on the bottom anyway. The Daytona ones are, so I can use that for a reference, and just, you know, as long as I don't go beyond it, then, you know, we should be all right as far as stresses and strains and the amount of stress it's got to take and everything else. This section is exactly the same. I'm not changing any of that. A little fella came up with the design that knows an awful lot more about this than me. So I'm not making these any skinnier or anything else than what the stock one was. See, I do like Fusion 360 as well, because I'm finding it sort of helps with order of operations as well. That sounds stupid, I know. But in Fusion 360, you could make like a cube, right? And then on the top surface of that cube, you could make a circle. And then you can extrude that circle. So essentially you're adding to the thing that you've already done. That's one way of doing it, and you can do stuff quite quickly that way. However, that's not how I'm actually doing stuff. Essentially, I'm starting with a block of alley. All right? I'm not adding to it. I'm taking stuff away. So you can, as long as you model up that to start off with, and then you start drawing your stuff on top, and actually when you extrude it, you cut it instead of joining it. That's essentially what I'm going to be doing on the mill. I'm going to be drilling holes in it and, you know, milling bits off and turning it at an angle and milling it again and stuff like that. So essentially this is only ever going to get smaller. It ain't going to get bigger. So to show you what I mean, so ignoring the original yokes over there for a sec, this is basically just a representation of the block of alley that I've got, right? So that's what I'm starting off with. So if we was to have a look at it this way, come on, right, so essentially I'm just taking material away. So if we was to do a sketch on top of here, for example, and we'll just do a hole, I don't know, there, make it 20 mil, finish the sketch, go to a view where you can see what I'm on about. Essentially what we're going to be doing with the mill, oh come on, right, there we go, is taking material away rather than adding it. So if I select that, for example, and then just extrude it, with CAD you can add to it, right? And you can build up very funky shapes and everything else very, very quickly with CAD. But that's not the way I'm doing it. I'm taking stuff away. So what you can do is to object. I'm learning little tricks like this as well. And we will select that face and it cuts it. So that's all good. So rather than doing it to hole that goes down 70 mil, because you can specify the depth of that hole as well, for example, but little tricks like saying to an object and then picking the opposite face, that hole will go all the way through, and then it doesn't matter if I change the thickness of this, the hole will always go all the way through it, because it starts on the top face and it's told to end on the bottom face. So by working through it like this, say that's my start off for 10, that's the first operation I'm going to do, you know, I can logically sequence everything. So starting with a big old block of alley, and then just by taking stuff away, that's the order of operations that I'll be following on the mill. The other thing is that I can produce drawings. Say that's, I don't know, I've got 3 holes in here or something like this, and you can space the dimensions out and everything else. I can do a drawing based on the current model and all the features on that model, rather than having a drawing with absolutely all of the measurements on it from the get-go, because that can get a little bit busy and a bit confusing. So basically I can go, right, today I'm going to put 3 holes in there, exactly these distances apart and exactly this diameter and exactly this depth and, you know, whatever else. And I can do a drawing that has just got the measurements for those particular operations. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's probably a long-winded way of doing it, I get it, but I can break it down into sort of doable chunks with all the measurements that I need to go step by step through it all and turn it into something like this. This bit here, for example, that's going to be radiused. So is this join here, and obviously underneath it and whatnot. I haven't put the radiuses in, just because I'm told it kind of monkeys about with the dimensions and everything else and the tolerances that you can set. So where it's all sharp angles and stuff, there will be a, you know, like a fillet in there. This edge here, for example, will be radiused over, as will all this lot. You know, it's not going to be sharp edges, it's all going to be rounded over, apart from the bit where the speedo actually sits into the top yoke. So that's it basically, that's the design. See, I do quite like it, I do. There's quite a lot to like about it. Someone's going to go, oh, it's ugly. Don't do that, that's horrible. Well, tough, it's not your bike, it's my bike and I'm doing it. I like to try and keep everything as compact and as together as I can do. I don't want to have like a speedo set away from the yokes and a bracket to keep it there and it wobbling all about and everything else. These jobbies, I phoned up the manufacturer and went, do I need to rubber isolate it? Because there's nothing in the instructions that says I need to. And he went, no. These can also go on boats. I don't know why you would have an indicator and a main beam thingy on a boat. But, you know, you can use them to track speed and everything else. I'd like to have a go in a boat that does 120 miles an hour though. But you can stick these on boats. It's the same series, they just come in like, you know, you can pick the speeds that you want basically. And, you know, vibrations and all that sort of stuff apparently is not a problem. So, you know, I don't need to rubber mount it. I can bolt it straight onto this and just let the suspension be the cushioning. That's pretty much the same as jumping over waves at 120 miles an hour anyway, isn't it? But I like it that I can clamp it all together. There's a clear route out for the cabling and I can just keep everything real neat and tidy. Cables can all come out as one, because I can join them underneath and whatnot anyway. So it'll just be one cable that has got to go, what, 4 inches, 5 inches to the frame, and then you ain't going to see it anymore anyway. So I do quite like it. It has got slits in it, obviously, for the clamping. I have got slitting saws. I'm going to need to make an arbor. That's a doddle. I would like to have a bigger fly cutter, which I could make, but I don't really need it. The yokes themselves, I'm thinking just give it a brush finish, quick and easy to maintain and blah blah blah. The actual speedo housing, I'll probably have a chat with Jack and just get him to powder coat it for me when he's got the ovens on. Just, you know, it's steel, I don't want it to rust or anything else. But he can powder coat it inside and out, that'll be fine. And I think we're in. I can also do either or. I could do the speedo surround first, or I could do the yokes first, or I could do them both together. It don't make no difference. Not until I actually come to marry the two together do I need to have two bits to plonk together and go, yeah, that fits. So I am probably going to start on the yokes, I think, just because I've been itching to have a go at things and I want to play about on Brian a bit more. So, you know, I'll get all this lot squared up and, you know, blah-de-blah-de-blah, put some holes in it, try and get it to the shape that I want and all that sort of stuff. And then when we come to it, we'll just get the speedo housing done and we'll be in. As far as where the holes go for clamping it, it shouldn't be a problem once I've got it done and dusted, and the plate underneath the speedo to bolt it all up, that's easy enough. So, you know, that's fine. The only thing I will need is that tilting table, because a combination of that and the rotary table, I can put things in all sorts of orientations. So as long as I know my angles, I think we're there. We'll be interested to hear what you think. I like it. I like the design. And I know it ain't going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I would be interested to hear your thoughts. I just think it's kind of cool looking. It's simple, but it's functional. It just does everything that I need it to do, all in one go. So that's what I'm doing. Turn off. Turn off. Thank you. Bringing a laptop in an environment filled with grinding dust probably wasn't my best move. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. As far as the bike goes, there is obviously still stuff to do. I'm waiting on the pin for that right side caliper, and I still need to get the pin out of that one. That shouldn't be too bad. And I don't like the way that the throttle cables route or the clutch cables route. I think I'm going to send them over top of the headlamp. But I need to monkey about and change stuff around. I was also having a look at the switch gear, and the right side one has got a crack in it. So I've got some more switch gear coming. So, you know, once that gets here, it's basically hoof everything together, wire it up, bleed it, job's a good one. The only other thing I'm going to do before I take it out for a hoon is I'm going to have the carbs off and give them a clean out, just because it's been sitting. I did leave petrol in it, so, you know, it's a quick and easy job. I'll just get that done. But then we can go out playing. So I am starting on the yokes and the speedo housing next. The only thing I think that I'm missing is that tilting table. But a combination of that and the rotary table, you know, we should be good to go, I think. I think I've got all the tooling that I need, bar a fly cutter and a slitting saw. Slitting saw I can make. I've got those stupid little fly cutters. We might give them a bash and see how they do, because it's only for facing off and stuff like that anyway. You know, I'm not going to be taking stuff to size with it. But that's it. So the yokes, that's the design. I need to make the drawings. I am going to do them piecemeal, so do it in stages and just the drawing for that bit. And, you know, hopefully we end up with a set of yokes at the end of it that I can stick on the bike and I can get the geometry back. That's the plan. So anyway, let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what you think. Good or bad, don't really care. And, you know, I can either ignore it or act on it. That is the beauty about being this end of the YouTube camera and not your end. So that's what I'm leaving it today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Do hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.